This video is related to the teaching of AQA GCSE history for the Elizabethan period and also for the power and the people, and bringing together some ideas and seeing how the Bible might have something to say on these ideas. The first idea is the great chain of being, which we encounter in the unit on Elizabeth, and in terms of the theatre, the censors were trying to make sure that any plays produced would be consistent with the great chain of being, that there was God at the top, the monarch, then the nobles, and then the rest. Now, the concept of the great chain of being is much ridiculed in some ways, but actually it's a reality that we all live under, whether it's the head teacher, teachers and the pupils, a CEO of a company, the managers, the workers, or in the health service, any area of administration, you're going to see some form of the great chain of being. And the Bible's very clear that we're supposed to respect authorities. And there's very good reason for, I often say to the students, the worst form of government is no government. Go to places like Iraq and Syria after the governments were toppled and nothing was replacing them. Haiti is another example. Sudan. You could now name a number of countries where governments have been toppled and nothing's been replacing them. And it's absolute awful. So we should not be too dismissive of the concept of great chain of being. The second concept we find in America with the concept that all men are created equal. And this concept is often presented as being a self-evident truth. But it's not self-evident at all. You only have to look at the nature programs to see animals don't function as if they're all equal. The survival of the fittest and the strongest gets the mate. No, the concept of equality comes as a sacred thing from God, that we're all made in God's image. And I think the idea that it's self-evident is a little bit of a trick that's not really true. And then you've got to come to the next one, which is the rule of law, which you come across in the Magna Carta. The rule of law in those days would have meant the rule of God's law, rather than some arbitrary law that's created by human beings with no relationship to their creator. And when you take all these together, the great chain of being, the rule of law, and the concept of equality before God, it's really important to try and get a biblical perspective of these things. But without the Bible's teaching on this, we are likely to make some grave mistakes, and certainly history has suggested that these ideas, when taken wrongly, can become tyrannous and murderous. Well, thank you for listening.